All right, friends. As prefaced, it is a one guest town on episode 64 of the Spicer Speaking podcast. And it's a great guest at that. She comes to us by way of Saskatchewan, Canada. She segued to a sterling and storied collegiate career at Cornell before playing professional hockey in the Canadians Women Hockey League, also serving as a member for multiple Canadian national teams. From there, she moved on to a really interesting and unique career in not just hockey coaching, but hockey instruction. I feel it's safe to use that word as well. That has brought her to our desert proper back in July, named the assistant coach of our Coachella Valley Firebirds. With that announcement, she became the first ever woman to reach the position of an AHL bench or an NHL bench for that matter. Look forward to discussing all this and more with this week's guest, Jessica Campbell. Jessica, appreciate you joining the Spicer Speaking podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
And welcome to the desert, may I add.
Nice warm welcome. I appreciate that as well.
You got it. I recently, among the guests from the Firebirds that I've had on this show, among the folks that are now your peers and Firebird colleagues, I've had the pleasure of interviewing for an assortment of articles, most recent of which was the head coach of the Firebirds, Dan Bylsma. One of the things I read about you getting this job, Jessica, was that Dan Bylsma reached out to you via the contact form on your JC Power Skating website. Is that accurate?
Yeah, poor Dan. He's not going to live this one down. Oh, man. Honestly, it's funny because I thought it was actually spam. I mean, I get inquiries from all kinds of parents, young kids, players themselves for skating and skill development. That's essentially the main way to reach me. And it was funny. I was working our USHL camp at the time in Vegas. And so I'm sitting there with my coffee, getting ready to go to the rink. And I had an inquiry, just coaching inquiry, very, very, just not a lot of detail from Dan Bylsma. And I'm like, is this real? I'm gonna respond, of course. And then we're on a phone call within 24 hours. So yeah, really obviously excited to work with Dan, and it's an honor with his credentials, his history, and to learn from someone like him and to be working alongside. I'm really excited about it.
I mean, in the dramatic or a dramatized version of this story, I think your call up to the show would have some other dramatic elements than a subject email on a contact form that says coaching inquiry. But hey, the job is the job, and you referenced Coach Bylsma's really unique CV and resume. And in interviewing him for an article I just filed yesterday, I guess, for Palm Springs Life magazine. I mean, I'm an ardent hockey fan, but I even think that like the hockey fan that watches maybe a game a week might not be quite aware of where this guy's career has taken him as a 9-year NHL guy, as a guy that at a mere 38 years old won the Stanley Cup, tied for the second best 25-game start in NHL coaching history, named the coach of the year in the NHL, fastest ever NHL coach to reach 200 wins. Were you familiar with some of these things when you initially heard from Dan Bylsma?
Yeah, very aware. Obviously, I'm a fan and coaching the game. So yeah, definitely very aware, and to again second why I was very taken back and very honored by the fact that Dan saw the value in me. He did his digging and his research on my background as well, and that meant a lot to me, knowing that he understood the unique value add and proposition that I could bring to Coachella with him, and that I'm young and eager and really hungry, and I want to do a really fantastic job and give as much as I possibly can to the organization, and obviously to our players, with goals of reaching the Kraken organization. So I'm familiar with how much Dan is going to be bringing and knowing that we as a staff get to lean on that experience and know, obviously we knows what it takes to win, and every team wants to establish a winning culture, and we have the opportunity to do it right from the very beginning at the foundational level. So there's no better leader than Dan to be put in this place and for us to support him.
I've yet to meet Coach Bilesma in person, but at this point, I think we've talked on the phone. That interview included 4 or 5 times, started to get a sense of what kind of person he is. Still a young guy. He's just about to turn 52 years old. I think even with that full resume of experience and a lot of success in there, what I've gleaned is that he is a humble guy. He is a competitive guy. He's got kind of a sneaky sense of humor. I guess what I'm getting to is, I'm curious as to what you think will make the two of you, as you see it now before the season started, although TikTok, we're just like 5 weeks away. What do you think will make the two of you personality wise a good mind meld on the bench?
I mean, you kind of hit it on the head. I think he has a very young heart. He's passionate, he's competitive. I think our entire staff, and Stu included, and Colin, our entire team, I think we're all very competitive, and we're focused on aligning in the right direction. We wouldn't have all been put in this position together. But I think working with Dan and knowing him now personally a little bit more, and understanding, it's been really unique and interesting for me to be able to see his personality is the personable component to Dan, but then also the switch when he's really competitive and he hits the ice, and he can still maintain that strong rapport. And I love that. I really feed off of positive energy. And honestly, I think it's a very tough game to be all serious all the time. There's too much to focus on. And so I think having that lighthearted mindset and being able to be, not so serious at times. And I think that's where my personality with Dan, I'm very outgoing, and I think we'll have a lot of fun along the way, but it's going to be a lot of hard work and a lot of hours to do and to accomplish what we're set out to do. So I'm excited to have the blend of personalities, knowing that I can support him in every way possible that he needs.
I'm curious, and you can call me a hypocrite perhaps for the way that I introduced you, the way that you've been introduced in myriad interviews and articles that I've seen, ranging from The Athletic to ESPN to the Desert Sun out here in our area. In a different life, Coach, I, in preceding this show, co-hosted an ESPN radio show for a long time, and my fellow co-host and I, we would always debate or perhaps discuss when there was the first of something, when there was a glass ceiling breaker. And we would say, we had a 1-hour show, so we needed to be timely. And we would always talk about, is this something that, yes, it is newsworthy, but at the same time, we're giving our time and attention to it. It feels a little antiquated, because whether it be the first minority to accomplish something in officiating or the front office, or whether it be the first woman to do the same, like that probably should have happened a long time ago. So we're almost giving some credence to the fact that it's an antiquated notion. There have undoubtedly been women qualified to be a coach at this level for probably 2 decades. At the same time, it in no way diminishes your excellent accomplishment. I mean, for you, at some stage, do you hope not to be introduced as the first woman to accomplish this, and just to be introduced as Coach Jessica Campbell?
Yeah, I think there's a lot in what you said that's true, but I think at the same time, it is important to shine light on. I think obviously if there's conversation, it changes mindsets, and like any situation that's a first of any kind, remove our situation out of it, and it's the same thing. As soon as there's conversation, then perspective changes. And so I think the emphasis again on the media carrying the stories and sharing my story and my journey, because a lot of people don't understand, like you said, my unique journey into coaching. Like I started on right hands-on skating and skill development with NHL pros, and that's what led me now into the tactical coaching space as well over the past few years. But that being said, without the proper storylines and dialogue, people don't really understand that we are doing this, and women have been doing it for some time and are doing a fantastic job in multiple positions across the NHL in various areas. But yes, on the other side of that coin, I think for me, it does get a little redundant when it becomes the conversation that, is the first, because that's not where my energy and my focus is ever. Like, never do I ever step on the ice and think, okay, I'm female. How is this going to be harder, different, or changed? How do I have to handle things differently? I just have always seen myself as a coach from the minute I put on my coaching hat, skate the same way, shoot the same way, understand the game. And yes, there's maybe some core differences from the way the women's and men's game is tactically played, but not really. And hockey's hockey. The language of hockey is hockey. So I've had the privilege, I think, of being in opportunities and putting myself in an area to take step forward, because I've never put my focus on the barrier of maybe how much harder it is to become the first female, because
Right.
again, that's not what it's about for me. So I'm honored, obviously, to be carrying that torch and knowing that there is more doors to be open. And if I can push those doors open and hold one for the next behind me at the same time, then it's an honor, and I'm excited to do that. But my focus is on setting the right culture, establishing what we need to do, and to focus on the work, and to let my product always be the best reflection of my work and my coaching.
Coach, you referenced your specialty, your métier in skating and skills, both genders and all levels of hockey you have taught, as you referenced several NHL players. What do you often notice when you are teaching players, again, whatever the gender, whatever the level of hockey, when you're teaching them for the first time? What deficiency in skating do you most often witness?
Yeah, I think skating specific, one of the fundamental, I think, challenges of every player from all levels is the outside edge. And now with the way the game is played, and this is something even for me from playing into coaching, I had to really develop a better understanding and dive really deeply into understanding the outside edge, because now the way the game is played, so much more skill, smaller players, fast, change direction. It's not just power forwards, get pucks in, physical hard hockey. There's so much more skill, and to respect that skill. And so being able to have confidence on your edges is what actually allows for you to play the game in a very skilled, creative way that's manipulative and deceptive, and all these little skating tools that are now being taught, but they require confidence and strength on the outside edge to be able to do it. Essentially, to use your skates to grab the ice and to change direction, east, west, north, south, accelerate, and to adjust speeds along the way. But that's the biggest core difference I've seen is that stability and agility on the outside edge.
One of the things that I read, one of the great quotes that you've given in recent months, this came, I believe, to my friend and colleague at the Desert Sun newspaper, Shad Powers. I believe he quoted you as saying, and this was beautifully put, that the ice can be a vulnerable space. Do I got that right? And if so, maybe you can expand on what you mean by that.
Yeah, as a player development coach, I learned this as a player, and it became a paramount core value of mine as a coach, and it still carries true to how I coach my players within the team structure. But the boards, and when you step on the ice, I always say honor the ice, honor the opportunity. Like, we're all here for the same reasons. We love the game, and the game's going to love us back along the way if we serve it the right way. But when you're working on any skill, strength or deficiency, and that was my role, my job, and still is here, is to develop players' skill sets to get them from the American Hockey League to the NHL. And so there's going to be just small deficiencies, not big incremental differences between the American and the NHL level players skill wise, but there's deficiencies that are holding them back. And so when you step on the ice, and my job is to work on your worst trait or your weakest quality, like, that's a tough space, one-on-one, and or especially in a small group or team setting where social comparison, and in a team setting, everybody has a different skill set, role, responsibility. So you need those different skill sets and strengths, weaknesses. But when you do step on the ice, I find it's my job to address the reality of, hey, we're going to fail. And if you're not failing, and if you don't feel comfortable failing, then we can't work past the hardest barrier. It's not your ability, it's your willingness to be able to go there and to stay diligent, unfocused on the fact that it doesn't matter what XYZ or Joe can do next to you. It's about where you're at, and my job is to give you the confidence and the strength in the tools that you do have to leverage and to lift up those areas of deficiencies so that you see yourself rise through it. And that's an approach that I think creates a really strong confidence and trust from the very beginning, because they know and understand that I'm here to serve them. My job is to teach them and to guide them to the tools that are sometimes already within, but it is a vulnerable space, and it can be a very powerful space when you can address that component.
Friends, you're tuning into episode 64 of the Spicer Speaking podcast. My guest is Jessica Campbell. She is the assistant coach of our own Coachella Valley Firebirds. If you haven't done so already, pop on cvfirebirds.com, check out some of the ticket options, check out news. I also recommend jumping on their emailer as well, because they got a lot of updates that are coming out with news that is basically being fed to us necessarily so on a daily basis, because there are a lot of things happening as the inaugural Firebirds season comes to the fray, about 5 weeks away from breaking the maiden on the opening game. And right before Christmas, the Firebirds will return home to make their debut right down the street from me right now at Acrisure Arena. TikTok. The arena is almost ready, done, and open. In this time frame before the season starts, it is slight, Coach. We got about 5 weeks, and there are not yet that many players even formally on the Firebirds roster. I believe you said that you are going to Seattle within hours of this conversation. There's a lot of things to get done in these next 5 weeks. What's at the top of the list for you as this team comes together for the first time?
Yeah, we're obviously all coming together in Seattle for a rookie camp, and then going into obviously our training camp come October once our whole team comes together. And so I think the biggest primary focus as a staff and understanding is, with Dan's guidance is all getting on the same page, aligned, understanding our true identity. Like, this is a really special opportunity for Coachella and for the fan base and for our players to know that anytime you get to be part of any first is special, because you have a legacy and an opportunity to create something very meaningful to the community, to these players. And so I'm just really excited knowing that obviously there's a lot of work and different areas, responsibilities that we have as assistant coaches, skills coaches, but getting all together in Seattle and figuring out our mix, what that mix looks like from a skills perspective, what are the dynamics of our team, and how are we going to create the team, and then obviously hit the ice with that with that confidence right away out of the gates to come out as a contending team, because I know we have ability. I know we definitely have coaching, and the organization has given us the support that it's really exciting times, and I think it's going to be busy, but we're all gearing up for those 7 weeks to get going before we move back down to Coachella.
Allowing yourself to look ahead a little bit for when the team makes its formal return to the desert proper. What in your mind's eye, what in your dreams, perhaps, Coach, would you like to see out here in the desert as the first ever pro sporting franchise in the Coachella Valley? Might it be seeing Firebird sweaters or ball caps all around town? Might it be seeing a sold out seat, standing room only, every game at Acrisure Arena? Maybe it would be they sell 2 million hot dogs. Maybe it would be a run to the Calder Cup. Have you allowed yourself to think that far ahead for what this season might hold?
Sorry, there's a pop-up there.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously there's going to be a lot of excitement, and with the new team and coming together and arriving back, I think it's actually right before Christmas, a home opener. Like, what an exciting time through holiday season to be able to come out and support something. And whether you're a longtime hockey fan or it's your first hockey game ever, the meaning of fans in the stands to the players and to the culture and what that energy creates within a massive facility. But obviously that takes one person, and buying a ticket, and whether it's one ticket or season ticket holders, that one ticket is part of that culture, establishing that culture, and something that players and our staff, our players mostly, they're thinking about those things. They're lacing up their skates and they look forward to that home ice advantage and establishing that. And so, for me, I think that's what I would love love to see is in whatever way capacity, whether it's buying a ball cap and wearing it around town and creating that buzz, maintaining that buzz and showing up. But I think for those that have never really been hockey fans, to get excited knowing how fun of a game it is to attend and to be part of, and not just one game, but becoming a fan of the team and getting to know the players' stories and looking into where their journey's been. I think that's the best part of hockey, is these players are real humans with great, incredible stories and journeys in the game. And the fans can really fall in love with teams and jump on bandwagons because of how they play and how they fight for each other. And it's a fun, high tempo, very energetic culture to be part of as a fan. And so that's what I'm most excited and want to see here in Coachella, is for that established culture to be right out of the gates for us.
A couple more for you today, Coach. You just got here into the desert, got yourself set up, and now you're leaving. But to what degree, rather, or in the past week, or maybe rather historically, via friends or family or snowbirds? What's your degree of familiarity with the Coachella Valley?
I've only been here once, and it was actually during the holiday season last year. I spent Christmas here and fell in love with the valley. But I'm, it's funny. I have a lot of hockey friends, family friends that I grew up with, coaches. My favorite and all-time favorite mentor, first ever competitive coach playing boys hockey, will be at the home opener, and they have a place out here in the winter. And so that's just so meaningful to me, knowing that there are, other people from home and some of that Canadian blood that love the game as much as I do. And I'm hoping that the entire city falls in love with the game and with the team and the fan base. But it's been really fun just coming out to Coachella, knowing obviously anytime you can step into a cold rink and then 5 minutes later out into the sun, you're in a really good space. So it's an honor, and I'm humbled and very grateful for the opportunity to be part of it.
In the short time here, or perhaps looking ahead to your return, is there any particular aspect of the desert area that you hope to more familiarize yourself with or enjoy? Maybe it's some outdoor activity, hiking, playing golf. Maybe there are a couple of restaurants in particular that you've heard good things about. You tell me, why are you looking forward to living here?
Yeah, I think just the outdoors. I grew up in really small town Canadian towns and with natural ice, frozen rinks, ponds. So I'm very used to the cold, and I, in fact, don't mind the cold. But now that I'm in the warmth, I feel like it's a luxury, and every day is a gift. So I don't want to take advantage of the fact that I've always loved hiking. I'm a very outdoorsy, independent person, but being on the trails and in the sun as much as I can. And to be honest, I love golfing. I had some shoulder injuries from my playing days, but I'm hoping to get some golf lessons, maybe some tennis lessons, and be out in the sun as much as I can, because the rink's a cold place and might as well be in the sun if I can.
Well, if you need some golf lessons, I got the place just for you. What shoulder is it that's injured?
And I'm a lefty, so it's my left backswing.
Ooh, and you're a lefty.
And I'm a lefty, yeah.
Okay. I was hoping might be the inverse shoulder.
I know.
That might be a bad one. Is it enough to inhibit a full swing? Is that?
No, I think it's a little bit, I'm a little torqued on one side just because of my lack of mobility, but it doesn't create pain or anything. It's fully torn. So it's just not a lot of, it's either surgery and being coaching in a sling, and obviously teaching skating and skill is my business. The last few years, I've never been able to fully go through that process again of surgery. So just doing what I can, and golf as good as I possibly can. My hybrid's pretty good though.
Okay.
Rely on my hybrid.
Okay. Well, if any of those long cubs are compromised because of swing, you can always master the short game. Don't forget about those scoring skills as well.
That's
one
something.
more. One more for Coach Jessica Campbell. I had this same request with your Firebird colleague Shannon Miller some months ago. Now, as a native of the state of hockey, I still sucked. I was not a strong skater, Jessica. I mean, I would leave my skate guards on sometime. Maybe that had more to do with my mental state than my actual skating ability. But I did tell Shannon, and I requested of Shannon, that when the community rink opens up at Acrisure Arena that I think I want to get back. I think I want to get back on the ice and see what I got at near 47 years old. I asked her if she could spend a little time with me, sharpening up skills that have not been tapped into for many decades. May I make the same request of you? If I'm going to get back out there, I'm going to see if I can skate again, see if I still got my Minnesota blood in me a little bit. Maybe a session. Will you have time for me?
Yeah, might as well, right? Whatever it takes. If that means you're going to be at the games, then I owe it to you and everybody else.
Well, rest assured, I will be at the games. I will looking forward to seeing you and the Firebirds not that far away at Acrisure Arena. Safe travels up yonder, Seattle. And thank you so much for your time. All the best this season, Coach Jessica Campbell. Really appreciate you joining the podcast, Coach.
Thank you very much.